Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, page 27a, with the words, Ve'omar Rabba hiniach lo gochelos al libo. He put a coal on his heart. Another wonderful example. But anyway, I guess, we have to cover all the cases. But again, just as a disclaimer, these cases are, I'm reading this as a discipline to read the Talmud. This is where Klal Yisrael, this is where the Torah observant, Torah learning, daily learning people are at. So this is where I'm at. And these kinds of cases, I'm just reading them. And Rabbah says, if one placed a coal over another's heart and the latter was burned and died, the one who placed the coal is exempt because the victim should have removed the coal from himself. I mean, wouldn't he have anyway? I mean, a person wouldn't stay still and allow the... I mean, a person can't stay still while a coal is on the heart. I mean, anyway, and the one who placed it... I said enough. I made the disclaimer. Okay, we'll continue. And the one who placed it there did not need to assume that the victim might not remove it. If he placed the coal on the other's garment and the garment was burned, he is liable to pay for the damage, as it is possible that the one whose garment was burnt thought to sue the one who placed the coal on his clothes for the cost of the garment, and that is why he did not bother to remove it. Yeah, like that's really going to happen. Okay, Rava said, we have learned both of these rulings through intimation in Mishnayot elsewhere. With regard to the case of the coal placed over his heart, the halacha is, as we learned in the Mishnah, Sanhedrin 76b, if one held another in a fire or in water, how can you hold someone in a fire? The person holding himself will get burned. If one held another in a fire or in water is possible, and the victim is unable to extricate himself from there and he dies as a result, the one who attacked him is liable to receive the death penalty as a murderer. I would hope so. If he pushed him into the fire or into the water and the victim is able to extricate himself from there but he dies anyway, the one who attacked him is exempt from the death penalty. The case of the one who places a coal on another's chest is similar to the one where he pushes the victim into the fire or the water in a situation where the victim has the ability to escape. With regard to the case of one who placed a coal on the garment of another, it is as we learned in the Mishnah 92a, if one said to another, tear my garment, or break my jug, and the other person does so, the latter is liable for the damage. But if one said to another, tear my garment, on the condition that you will be exempt from all liability, he is exempt. It is therefore clear that even when one is granted permission by the owner of an item to damage it, that does not grant him an exemption from liability for the damage caused unless that exemption was stated explicitly. Consequently, in a case where the owner did not grant permission, the one who caused the damage is certainly liable. And now we are coming to the final lines of Ketzat Haregel. We're about to start a new parak. Rabbah raises a dilemma. I thought of an interesting thing this morning, that the English word dilemma parallels the Hebrew/Aramaic or Rabbinic Hebrew word dilma. And dilma is really the word of a dilemma, because dilma means or maybe. So if someone has a dilemma, they're going to say, oh, Dilma. Okay, that's my chiddush for today. Rabbah raises a dilemma in summation of this discussion. If he placed a coal over the heart of another's Canaanite slave, and the slave died as a result, what is the halacha? Is the body of the slave comparable to the body of any other person, and therefore the assailant would be exempt from liability, or is it comparable to another property owned by the master, and therefore the assailant would be liable? Furthermore, if you say that the body of the slave is comparable to the body of any ordinary person, as the slave had the ability to move the coal from himself, and therefore the assailant would be exempt, what is the halacha in a case where he placed the coal on the other's ox. After raising the dilemma, Rabbah then resolves it. The body of the slave is comparable to the body of any other person, as the slave possesses an intellect and should have the sense to remove the coal from himself, whereas the ox is comparable to other property. Hadran Allah Ketzad Haregel. We finished. We shall return to you, Ketzad Haregel. Okay, now we're starting a new Mishnah and Parak 3 of Bava Kama. The Parak is called Hamaniach, or Hamaniach Esakad. Hamaniach Esakad Bereshus Harabim Ubachar Niskal Bavishavra Ushavra Patur. The Mishnah says, in a case where one places a cod, a type of vessel, in the public domain, and another person comes and stumbles on it and breaks it, the other person is exempt from paying what he broke. And if the one who stumbled incurred damage by it, the owner of the chavit is liable to pay restitution for his damage. So the Gemara now asks a very simple question. Pasach b'kav v'sayim b'chavis. The Mishnah began talking about a cod, and why did you finish off with chavis? You're being inconsistent. Cod is like a pitcher, and chavis would be like a barrel. Okay, so why did it do that? Why okay. And we learned this interchanging of words, kad and chavis, in a Mishnah 31b as well. If two people were walking down the street, this one is coming with his chavis, and that coming with his crossbeam, and this one's kad was broken by that one's crossbeam. Okay, I wonder why they do that. It's not consistent. Chavit is 420. And cod is 7. 420, 7. What's the relationship? The relationship is 413. Okay, anyway. Nothing there. Okay. Okay, they say that this inconsistency, they pointed out somewhere else. Okay. This one here too. The Mishnah changed its wording. It began with reference to chavis and ended with cod, and we learned this in another Mishnah in 115a as well. If this person came with his chavis of wine, and that person came with his cod of honey, and the chavis of honey, which is more valuable, cracked, and this person poured out his wine and saved the honey by collecting it into his vessel, he received reimbursement only for his trouble, and he cannot claim the value of the wine that he poured out, since the owner of the honey did not tell him to do so. Here too the Mishnah changed its wording, as it began the statement in reference to cod of honey, and it ended in reference to chavit of honey. Okay, we have a 6-minute warning. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa said, today's Wednesday, Rav Papa's Wednesday. Rav Papa said, these examples show that a kid is the same as a cod, is the same as a chavis. And the two words are used interchangeably with regard to what does this make a difference. My nafkamina. This makes a difference for buying and selling. If a customer asks for a chavit, intending a large vessel, and the seller gives him a cod, which is a smaller vessel, the buyer cannot claim that he did not receive the item he asked for. The Gemara asks, what are the circumstances where this is relevant? If we say that it is with regard to a locale where people do not refer to a cod as a chavit, nor do they refer to a chavit as a cod, and a chavit is understood to be referring to a larger vessel, clearly one who asks for a chavit does not wish to buy a cod, as people do not call it that. Also, just need to point this out, it's also highly relevant. If a person goes into a store, they're not going to pick up an item that they don't want. They're going to look at an item, they're going to point to it. And it's not like it's behind closed doors. If someone goes into a store and there's a chavis here and they call it a cod, or if it's a cod and they call it a chavis, he's going to point to it. I want that one. So it's also unlikely. These cases will never happen. But in any case, all right, do not call it that. The Gemara answers, no, it is necessary to teach that they are equivalent in terms of regard to a locale where most people call a kad, and a chavit, a chavit. In other words, most people use the term kad for the smaller vessel and the term chavit for the larger one. And there are also those who call a chavit a kad and a kad a chavit, not distinguishing between the two terms, lest you say that the halacha follows the majority and the seller and the buyer must accept this distinction. Okay, we still have some time. So, we should have to end it here. Yeah, let's end it here.